Hello, everyone. I'm your host, Mariana, and you're listening to A Degree Farther, the official podcast of the graduate school at Hood College, where we feature current students, alumni, and faculty who are innovators on our campus and in our community. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the official podcast of the graduate school at Hood College, and welcome to October. In today's episode, I'm so happy to welcome Levi White, a dedicated advocate for inclusive and affirming mental health care. Levi earned his bachelor's degree in psychology here at Hood College and is now pursuing his master's in clinical mental health counseling. As a counseling intern, an active member of Counselors for Social Justice, Levi's work centers on advancing equitable mental health services for transgender, nonbinary, and gender-expansive individuals. Levi's academic journey reflects both scholarship and social impact. His most recent publication explores how systemic factors influence the experiences of transgender clients in therapy, drawing from frameworks like the Minority Stress Model and the WPATH Standards of Care. Stay with us as we talk with Levi about his path from psychology to counseling, his research on gender equity in mental health, and how he is using his education at Hood to take his purpose a degree farther. Enjoy it! Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of A Degree Farther. Sorry. Welcome to fall semester and welcome to Levi, our guest for today. Hi Levi, thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for inviting me.
Levi, if we can start talking about your background and what inspired you to pursue a master's degree in Hood College.
I went to undergrad at Hood and got my bachelor's from Hood, and I took classes in undergrad for the grad program for counseling, and the professors were just so wonderful that Hood was my only choice for the grad program for counseling.
Nice. What was your bachelor?
My bachelor's was in psychology, and I got a minor in sociology.
Oh, nice. So how has your experience been so far here as a graduate student? When are you graduating?
I'm graduating in May next year, so I'm getting close.
Mm.
My experience has been wonderful. I think everyone in the grad program has just been amazing, and I love the professors so much. They are so helpful and just full of knowledge that I hope to obtain myself someday.
Yeah, something I like to talk about here in the podcast a lot is balance between the academic life and the work and the social life and self-care. If you
Mhm.
can share a little bit about how that is in, how do you manage that in your life and how you balance your life with the academic work?
I am a planner, so I have calendars everywhere. And I like to schedule time off for myself. Balancing academic life and personal life has been a little bit more challenging for me in the grad program, as I'm sure it is for everyone else. Um, but most of the time, it's just a matter of focusing on my agenda and to-do lists and things like that, but also ensuring that I have time off for myself, engaging in self-care activities, so I can help reset, especially as I'm seeing clients and giving myself that time to rejuvenate myself.
Mhm. You worked with Dr. Shoemaker on a paper focused on transgender clients.
hmm
I would love to hear about that research, why you start to do that research and what are the outcomes and whatever you want to share with us about it.
Absolutely. So I knew I wanted to work with Dr. Shoemaker on a research paper or anyone for that matter, but I went up to her after class one day and asked if we could work on something, and then an opportunity came up for the issues of LGBTQ plus in counseling um, journal, and we decided to do something that would relate to the training clinic on campus, and we're hoping to do a little bit more research on that as well. Um, but we decided to focus on transgender clients in um, college counseling centers to understand better how graduate programs can better support clinicians in training and competency for providing support to transgender clients in that arena, in that population.
Mhm. And what were some key takeaways from that research?
We focused on using the minority stress model from Hendricks and Tesla, um, originally curated by, or originally noted by Meyer from his publication in 1990. Um, which focused on gay clients specifically, but then Hendricks and Tesla expanded it to transgender clients. So we focused on applying that model um, to transgender clients in college counseling services, which the key takeaway is essentially focusing on how outside stressors like discrimination and harassment can affect transgender clients, how the internalization of those stressors can affect transgender clients, and how the anticipation of those stressors affect them as well. So some key takeaways is focusing on all of those aspects and those distal and proximal stressors. Um, and how not only um, the harassment can cause internalization, but also the uh, symptomology or
Mm.
perpetuates the symptomology of like depression and anxiety because of external factors, um, and normalizing that for clients.
Mhm. Okay. Yeah, that's very interesting. And what, like, what are some advices or some recommendations or must things that you will tell other counselors that they have to have in mind when working with this population?
I would recommend not um, pathologizing clients, transgender clients specifically in that way, specifically because it's a matter of a social justice approach and normalizing the effects that um, this discrimination has on them. Is also particularly with gender dysphoria, I would recommend not diagnosing that um, unless the client would is looking to pursue
Mhm.
gender affirming care, just to keep their own privacy and health information up to them. Um, with the way that the political sphere is going, it can be really scary for trans clients right now. And making sure that they have their own autonomy in how they're seeking care is really important. So making sure that we're taking steps to protect their privacy is even with insurance companies can be important.
Mm, essential. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Mhm.
Um, so now I would like to know how was the experience of working with Dr. Shoemaker, how her professionalism and her guidance influenced your research, and what did you learn from that?
It was a wonderful experience. She had a great resources for research, um, and learning how to put together and synthesize research has been really important for me, especially as we look forward to doing more research. And I look forward to doing more research with the training clinic on campus, hopefully. Um, so synthesizing that research was one key takeaway for me. Um, but it was just such a cool experience to work with Dr. Shoemaker, who is so knowledgeable, just like all the other professors. Um, and her professionalism was um, just outstanding. It it really, how we put together the case study for the research, and how she pulled up all of these aspects together was really cool to watch.
Nice. Now, you presented your research are at the first conference of counselors for social justice at Puerto Rico, San Juan.
Mhm,
And I
mhm.
was there to witness it, and it was amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience? How was the experience for you? What did you learn? Yeah, like a little bit of how was it, and in terms of the research, like what are some standing comments that you receive, or any standing advice, or any feedback that you want to share with us, and how that complemented your research?
Sure. So it was such a cool experience. I got to learn a lot about other populations, and I was able to attend like seminars on like internal family systems, which was really cool. Some feedback that I got was the main feedback was just to keep going, and with other counselors who are working with transgender clients and researching transgender clients, it was cool for us to be able to talk about the research. And yeah, so mainly just to keep going, especially with everything that's going on in the world right now. Um, but it was a really cool experience for me. And one takeaway I got from it was a matter of finding other counselors to do research with. And that's the cool part about conferences is you get counselors who are working in the same area as you, or they're focusing on other populations or theories or something like that. And you can make these network and make these connections to be able to have like consultation teams in the future or just research teams in the future. So I think that's the main point of conferences and also learning as well. So I would recommend conferences to anyone who is interested. It's such a cool experience. You don't have to go to Puerto Rico to do it. Um, but hopefully counselors for social justice will do it somewhere in the US to make it easier and more accessible for some people. But um, highly recommend conferences to anyone who is interested. So that would be my main takeaway.
Yeah, I totally agree. And the Counselors for Social Justice conference was essential for humanizing the process as counselors.
Absolutely.
Mm, and talking about that, why do you think that we as counselors should develop some skills and competences to work with transgender clients? Especially right now, that's you say, sorry, as you say, with political situation and everything that was going on in the world.
Yes, so I think it's important for anyone to be competent in working with transgender clients because there can be a lot of harm done in the counseling relationship if you're not aware of um, terminology, but also I want to recognize that we can't be totally aware of everything for every population. So taking a curiosity stance is important in in any counseling relationship with any population, any presenting concern. Um, But I think specifically with transgender clients, there have been a lot of counselors who aren't recognizing the social justice aspect of it. And social justice is just central to counseling because clients' mental health is shaped by systemic factors like discrimination and access to resources, things like that. Um, and being aware of how to help clients navigate the stressors of um, pursuing gender affirming care if that's what they're interested in is really important to be able to help support them in that. Of course, a lot of the work is going to be done by the client and navigating that, but navigating the stress of that is going to be important. Um, but just being aware of your own biases can be a huge step towards being a social justice oriented counselor, working with the transgender community. And one thing that I learned from research that I think is important to note is that you don't have to be a trans counselor to work with trans clients and be a good counselor. Some clients actually reported that having a cisgender counselor was helpful because they didn't have those expectations of what it looks like to be trans. So each client that came in had their own journey and the counselor respected that. So if you're cisgender, it's not an automatic barrier to seeing trans clients. And I just wanted to note that.
Yeah, I think it's essential that you clarify that because it is everything a huge like new movement. Sometimes cisgender counselors can feel overwhelmed or feel like they have lack of skills and don't go that path because of the fear. And then maybe they could be an amazing help for people that are transgender. So I like that you're clarifying that.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I understand that there can be fear related to that. I think there's a fear with working with a client who doesn't line up with your culture, but any client that you see won't line up with your culture. We all have our own experiences, and um, it can be daunting to take on a client whose experience you're not familiar with, particularly with working with transgender clients. But transgender clients have so many experiences of socio-political stressors, interpersonal stressors, things like that, that make them more apt to seek care. And even noting in your prof professional bio or um, on the counseling site's website or on Psychology Today, your own personal pronouns can just be a way for transgender clients to see you and be like, okay, I think that I'm safe with them. Um, so if you're interested in working with transgender clients, that can be a good way to, just a small, very good way to note your inclusion.
Mhm. And I think that leads us perfectly to the next question that is about social justice and how the role of social justice how do you see that role on the practice today and how
Mhm.
you would like to bring that to your profession in the future?
Yes, so I am currently working with transgender clients, which has been so fulfilling for me. Um, how I see it is counseling and advocacy go hand in hand. Healing and happens not just within the therapy room, but also when clients feel supported in navigating the larger systems that impact them. So counselors have the responsibility and privilege to both empower individuals and work towards creating more equitable communities. So being able to be that person for someone is so fulfilling, but it can also be daunting. There's a lot that goes into it. So Um, it's an important aspect of counseling work that I think we can't negate as we move forward. And in my role right now, I don't have the qualifications to be able to like write letters for transgender clients to seek gender affirming care. But what I can do is help them navigate the insurance systems and finding resources and things like that. And having knowledge already is already helpful for that. So, for those that want to see clients, I would recommend just finding resources available to them. I think Trans Maryland is a great resource. They help with like changing names and things like that. Um, the legal they help with the legal part of that, which can be really daunting for trans clients. And there are other great resources to have on deck for clients. And I think um, even running a group can be a source of advocacy and social justice.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see your passion for this topic and for this population. What are
Mhm.
some goals that you have for the future after you graduate from the master?
Yes, so once I get my LGBTC, I'm looking to work at a community-based healthcare practice for LGBTQ plus clients called Chase Brexton. Which is also another resource I would recommend. It's a culmination of different professionals working with LGBTQ clients. Um, and that's where I'm hoping to work at one point. Um, Hopefully after I graduate, but we will see. So
Mm. I hope you do. Mhm.
thank you.
Well, we're already at the end of our conversation. If you can give some advice to other students or people who are listening that are interested in doing some research, advocacy, or even working with this type of population or anything around the counseling profession, what are some things that you will tell them?
I would say if you're interested in the counseling profession, reach out to the professors at Hood College. Um, get to know them. Especially if you're already at Hood, take classes that are um, related to counseling. Um, Otherwise, if you're interested in research, find a professor who's doing research that is similar to the research that you're interested in doing. Talk with them, have ideas ready. Um, and yeah, if you're interested in advocacy, finding resources is a great place to start.
What has been the most rewarding part of your journey at Hood College?
Mm. I would say the personal growth that I've experienced. I think I I did enter the program at 20 years old, and throughout the 2 to 3 years that I've experienced, I have grown so much, and I think that's the wonderful part of the counseling grad program is that you learn more about yourself and who you are as a counselor. I think the important part about being a counselor and self-growth is that you're aware of your own um, struggles and you can tap into that when working with clients, but of course, there are boundaries that you need to have in place. But being in the grad program has just like, I just feel like I've grown exponentially and I look forward to growing even more.
Yeah, you couldn't say it better. Uh,
Thank you.
anything else that you would like to add?
Um, I would just say if you're looking to work with trans clients, do your research for what is the best approach with trans clients, and we're not scary. Um,
Mm.
there are exceptions to the rule, but um, we're just like everyone else, and it there's a huge need for counselors who are working with trans clients. So I would recommend looking into that if you're interested. But that's where I would leave it.
Thank you so much, Levi.
Thank you for inviting me. I had a good time.
Me too. Thank you. Thank you so much for listening to A Degree Further, the official podcast of the graduate school at Hood College, where we help you go further in your life, in your career, and in your community. Be sure to tune in next time and to catch up on all the latest episodes. Visit hood.edu/a degree further. I'm your host, Mariana, and thank you so much for listening.